Chapter 10, Invisible Imperial Garden. Yes, they did screw that up. It should read invincible. They're not invisible. News of Joey's victory over Ishtar soon spread to every corner of the Empire. Heartened by his success, resistance fighters continued to pledge themselves to his cause and vowed to fight with him. But the Empire was not content to let this movement go unchallenged. To hunt down the Black Dragon Squad, Emperor Heishin decided to send his own invincible Imperial Guard, and you will note they spelled it correctly that time. A confident Joey decides to face his new enemy head-on, but if he had only known who was coming... Red 2 standing by, all for lit and in the green. Welcome back to YuGiOh the Falsebound Kingdom, where we are coming across the final battle of Joey's storyline. We actually have some monsters we can get our hands on too. Which, let me see. Just thinking, given what we have to face, might need to mix up some of the teams a bit, because I need someone with a Darklands and a Spirit monster. Let's see. Well, Dharma Cannon has been a faithful servant, but I think Giselle will be better served with a slightly stronger monster. Or I could just wind up using... in all fairness, I could remove Tao the Chanter and give Malaerica someone better, because we've got the Spirit monster. There's a... yeah, I want a high-level Darklands monster for Malaerica. The highest level Darkland... we might have Dark Chimera as our highest level. Maybe not. Let's see... There's Ghoul with an Appetite, which isn't very strong. Right, it's just that I'm trying to plan out exactly how to take down our next opponent. Yeah, I will... You know what? I'll borrow Armored Zombie for a little while. So, Malaerica is going to help us defeat the team of monsters in this chapter, which is in the same location where we found them back in Chapter 2. We're ready to rumble against a fairly tough opponent. They've still misspelled invincible. So, let's get ready to wind up facing off against what the game obviously wants us to believe is the invisible Imperial Guard. I'm sure you can see what's coming, though. Humph. For a bunch of average duelists, and that's being incredibly charitable, you've done quite well for yourselves. But that's about to end. Even in this bizarro world, you are no match for me. What did you say? You gotta eat those words! And just what the heck are you doing fighting for the Empire, you jerk? Ridiculous as it may be, this seems to be the role I've been assigned. So until I find a way to end this nightmare, I'm going to play along with the idiot that came up with this story. Besides, you've always wanted to face me in a duel, little Joey, haven't you? It might prove quite interesting to do it here, don't you think? So get back in character and face me! If you've got any pride at all, that is. You know what? I've never liked you, and I'm going to enjoy stuffing that huge ego of yours down your throat! That's assuming you can actually fit Seto Kaiba's ego anywhere. That really could wind up going the wrong way. Alright, Giselle on first watch, as usual. Then we'll sit Taya out. Alright, so who's coming at us? We've got ground units. So, wait, where's Marthas? Is he in the lead? Mokuba's in the lead. Along with a range of generic duelists. I might need some spirit monsters for this. Malaerica, you're on first watch instead. Then we'll have Giselle. This could be a bit of a toughie, but we will make it work. Whoever gets... Rightio, first battle up. Mokuba versus Malaerica. Now, Mokuba, you don't actually... Well, you do get Creole in this story, but otherwise not... Otherwise, these two monsters are found during Yugi's story. But then again, you get a fair few along the way. Okay, so as you can see, this has been set up so brutally well, Mokuba doesn't stand a chance. Mokuba isn't much of a duelist anyway. I don't think he actually ever takes part in a duel. It is worth noting that Mokuba is an opponent in some of the card games. I mean, the video games. But he's always a low-level duelist who makes really stupid mistakes. Anyway, Dark Laser Blast, Creel's special attack. So we want to wipe that out of the picture. And there we are, the illusory gentleman who can blind our monsters is out of the picture. Mokuba is obviously doing the intelligent thing and hitting us all. So. Oh, it does. Oh, nice. I'm going to have to level that thing up. So we'll take this out of the way. So yeah, Mokuba basically has herd-hitting attacks. You need marshals who can confuse his monsters, or you just basically need to lock him down by taking out his strong monsters as soon as possible. I'll have to see how much damage Ice Storm does. I just decided to wind up taking it out because I had a Darklands monster. One of the enemies we will face in our monster team is a Darklands monster. So we'll just fire away there. This shouldn't take too long. We'll have very generic enemies to go through. But after that, no trouble at all. Might have to get a bit of healing in. Yeah, next turn for Fairy's Gift, I'll get some healing in. Because the fact its special attack does... Actually, its special technique does heal us is very handy. But it can also use Gift of the Mystical Elf and Magic Craft to enhance its magical power, which is really, really useful. So there we are, Mokuba is out of the picture. It's probably not surprising that Kaiba sent him out to die first, because it's Kaiba, he's an arse. Everybody is expendable. So, Malaerica's team is in top condition. Let's get Taya in next. I think. Alright, run away. Run away. Probably should have had Mai in next. Wrong button. There we go. Right, so I'll get Mai in to take the next opponent. Guns will probably be active soon. Taya. Oh no, Taya's ready. Alright, Mai can take the next one. Taya should be able to handle this pretty well, all things considered, because that new magic I put on her will be very handy. And on top of that, Jinzo isn't very strong. As I've said, it's a bit of a letdown. Man, when you're slower than a clunker like that, you know you're in trouble. Wow, you get 5 uses of that, and given that blind is a very powerful status effect, this could make the job really easy. And now we get to swamp them. And then we just dish out the damage. Should go fairly smoothly. So yeah, being able to use your magic to your advantage is really, really helpful in this. Play your cards right and you get some very good strategies. Jinzo's guarded. I'll power up my teammates, which should make the job a bit easier. The 800 attack point boost, really useful. To be honest, I think you've got to go for those higher end ones like the 800 or 1000. Because otherwise it's just not that effective. So there we are. Like, if anything, I think blind is probably a bit, depending on the circumstances, blind can be more useful than paralysis. Because your opponents are still wasting your AP. Suppose I'm learning more as I go along. But there we are. Our final battle will slowly be taking place. Their attacks are missing, and we'll have them down in no time. Of course, the armor ability is also a pain in the butt. And there we are. Should be one down. So once you do this, you'll have most of the monsters in the game at your disposal. We'll just have to go back and find a few. Because this is finally where we get Kazogen. So we'll be able to meet Gate Guardian. Not that we've ever really wanted to, because Gate Guardian is incredibly impractical. But it's fairly handy to have along the way. At least it's a pretty good fusion in this game, just don't expect it to have gigantic amounts of AP. Suijin, Kazogen and Sangha of the Thunder tend to be a bit awkward. They can be pretty good when used the right way on a team, but you're going to have to put in a bit of work. They will require a lot of work because they don't get a lot of AP, but they've got good starting stats. 4-8. Yeah, Jinzo's defense is terrible. This should... Yep. And down it's going to go. There we are, short-circuited by powerful water blasts. Because of course, Hydro Pump winds up working past the Steel type's defenses. Very well done. Wow, more AP for Mystical Elf. Jeez. Once you actually put some levels into Taya's team and give them proper items, it's good. Alright, so that Labyrinth Tank team is going to cop the guns. We can skip this and introduce some monsters. Kazogen made its international debut in Metal Raiders, with a few extra appearances along the way. In Japan, it debuted in Volume 5 and reappeared in Revival of Black Demon's Dragon. Kazogen forms the torso of Gate Guardian when they finally fuse, or you tribute all the monsters for whatever reason. It's a fairly capable monster in terms of its effect, though its stats are the lowest of the trio. As is the case with the other two, it has an appropriate kanji on its body, in this case the kanji for wind. Surprisingly enough, that is its attribute. Interestingly, in the Bandai version of the game, which is a really, really unusual version I don't know enough about, Kazogen's stats actually match those of Summoned Skull, including its level, which may be why it's a spellcaster. It seems to be a bit more practical there. Pumpkin, the King of Ghosts, made its international debut and only appearance in Metal Raiders. In Japan, it debuted in Booster 7 and then appeared in their version of Metal Raiders. Mumbo proud of Pumpkin spell. Make good soup. Anyway, Pumpkin is particularly odd in ways, much like Castle of Dark Illusions. Combining the two of them can make Pumpkin pretty strong as time passes, mostly in the early days of the game where everything was really slow, but one does wonder why on earth you'd bother, since even then it wasn't the most practical strategy. Pumpkin does fare better in this game, being able to buff its allies so long as they're Darklands monsters, but be careful because it can buff enemy Darklands monsters, and having pretty decent combat prowess. It's just memorable for its odd connection. Who knows, maybe the castle is actually Pumpkin's digs, and in that case it'd be a pretty sweet residence. Skull Knight made its international debut in Metal Raiders, reappearing in Speed Duel's Trials of the Kingdom. In Japan, it debuted in Booster 7 and appeared in their version of Metal Raiders. Skull Knight is slightly odd compared to its fusion materials, which are both fiends with brain-based appearances. This is a spellcaster and a humanoid skeleton knight, or bishop in the Japanese version. However, Skull Knight is actually one of the best fusion monsters when you compare the end result to the materials, at least in the early days anyway. It surpasses the totals for its materials' combined attack and defense, which was something of a rarity back in the old days, especially when you consider how crap things like Mavelus were. It also possesses a unique attack and defense lineup which is matched only by an illegal counterpart. On the whole, it actually serves as a pretty capable monster in this game. Alright, so even enemies that are colliding with your base can still wind up getting hit by cannons. No healers, but good lord, they're all very strong. Might as well burn them. So yeah, it doesn't seem to do much more than 300 damage. Which is a bit of a pain in the rear. So it's probably not that good to rely on it at higher levels. It's still good for a bit of chip damage that dishes out decent hits to enemies, but there are better. You can use it when you're training up monsters maybe, but that's probably about it. I thought it would be a bit more useful than it actually was, but I mean, it's still useful. It's just there are better ways of doing chip damage. But then again, multi-purpose finisher, just like that. Fight 1, free experience. And now let's get Tristan onto things. Kriewell gets its special attack much later on. Okay. Tristan. Have we got any other opponents? Yeah, we've got some... Got some dude with Metal Zoa. Marthas has regular Zoa. This could be rough. But we should be able to dish out fairly handy damage with Tristan. And I mean, the more damage the likes of Dungeon Worm can do, the better. Probably want to focus on Labyrinth Tank because it's the deadliest. You never underestimate Labyrinth Tank, seriously. Those teams get strong. Do not mess with this thing, get rid of it. Get rid of it as soon as possible, as we've mentioned. There's no really easy way to take out machine monsters as well. You've just got to have abilities that... Oh, that is a bad thing. It didn't get poisoned. I mean, granted you can't poison steel types, and it probably stands to reason that you couldn't poison a machine, but... Oh well. Now... Yeah, let's just pile on the damage. It might be worth using that power-up just for the long run, but... Yeah. There we are. So, we're going to face harder hitting attacks. Alright, it's going for Dungeon Worm, which is very clearly our strongest monster. Some of these Castle Adept monsters really are stupidly powerful. It is pretty much always worth using them, because a lot of your fighting, if you're cautious like me, is going to take place in castles. you can also be a bit dumb like me and not sort of set the fight up on your terms in a location that benefits you. But, let's see. It's only got Castle Adept, and they've got Road Adept, so I think they'd be strong no matter where we fought them. Let's give the team a power up anyway, just so we can match it with them in firepower. There is a fair bit of strategy about where to position yourselves fighting your opponents, but yeah, the AI has definitely stepped up. They are really trying to kill me. Seriously, they're not doing that many dumb things. Probably would behoove me to use that just to be on the safe side. Just keep the team going. I mean, Dungeon Worm can afford to do stuff like that because it's got all the firepower, it's got all the AP. And we'll just have to keep chipping away. That's right, I got it slightly confused with Overdrive Random Blast, which is a useful attack. And yeah, a lot of these machine teams do wind up getting incredibly tough, I think, especially because of Shock Shell. Man, yeah, they're definitely a lot smarter this time. It seems to be that there are those two modes of difficulty for any AI in pretty much any game. Either they will do the intelligent thing as much as possible to the point that you think they're cheating, or they will demonstrate an IQ of -8. There doesn't seem to be any in between. Like I said when regarding the Worms games, it's very easy to make an AI that can easily hit its target every single time. It's very difficult to make an AI that can convincingly miss. Oh well, this will be over in short order. It really does look so odd seeing Cyber Commander have such lurid colours. The guns do appear to be censored on it. Yeah, it looks like an extremely colourful YuGiOh action figure or something like that, but in the actual card artwork, it is uncensored. It has the proper firearms and everything. And a lot of the cards in this game use their Japanese models. It's a little unusual, but there we go. So that doofus is down and out. And more levels for Team Tristan. So what do we got coming up at us next? I know we've got Metal Zoa. We do get to fight the Red Ice Black Metal Dragon. So, metals. Oh wait, that's regular Zoa. This should really be Malaerica's battle. But Joey can take down Marthas. There we are. I forgot that Zoa actually walked on its hind legs. I know Metal Zoa does. Rightio. What items does he have? Absolutely no. Okay, Gil for Soul. Okay, yeah, you can power yourself up. Fine. Martha's team is not super challenging because it has really crummy AP. If you hit him hard with a Spirit team, he's going down hard. He's not going to know what hit him. And speaking of not going to know what hit them, we should be able to take on Kaiba's team fairly easily. Because of course we've got warriors with which we can easily take down his blue eyes and a monster that can confuse him. So there we are. So Archfiend of Gilfer. I'll have to see what exactly its attack has become to see if Gilfer Soul was much use. Zoa, on the other hand, just takes a while to get going. What is it? Oh no, those are its forearms. I thought it was sticking its leg out like it was doing some sort of weird ice skating pose. Okay, so I think Beast of Guildford got about 800 attack. Not good, but not good, but not bad. It's just one of those things. Okay. None of them really have super high HP either. Like, again, Martha's team is very much middle of the road. It's not outstanding. Mokuba is actually a bigger threat. Martha's is pretty easy to defeat, whereas you'll have to have... Okay. You'll have to have a range of monsters to take Mokuba's team out with advantageous attacks. We might as well pretty much get whatever we... Yeah. Oh no, wait, hang on. That was 1,000 attack. It is 1,000 attack. I thought that had 4... I thought it had roughly 4,000 attack to begin with, but yeah. So Archfiend of Guildford wasn't that great. I mean, it's been barely a threat. Martha's team is really not a threat. And it's really interesting how they kind of work all that into the story, because Kaiba's the big bad boss with the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon and the ability to fuse. Mokuba actually winds up coming in with a surprisingly good tactic. Utilize herd-hitting attacks, smack you around, do a lot of damage. Martha's has a Fiend team that is strong on paper. These are some of the strongest Fiends around in terms of raw stats on paper. But in the game, not very much. In the game, not a lot really happens to make Martha's a challenging opponent. So it's actually, as we've seen, it's pretty easy. Martha's will not make you raise a sweat. So, we have defeated the majority of the invisible Imperial Guard. If Malayurika heads to the north, we should be able to get our monsters. We'll have to introduce a few along the way, of course. Now, we should run into them soon, hopefully. I think it was just go north? Yes. In pretty much the same spot as Chapter 2, we meet Skull Knight, Pumpkin the King of Ghosts, and Kazogen. At long last. So, Skull Knight... Our enemies are level 90. Skull Knight is very strong, Pumpkin isn't. Kazogen is fairly strong. So... Pumpkin can poison us and power up Darklands monsters. Skull Knight can hit all of us and its attack can't be avoided. Kazogen is just there. But we want to lock down Skull Knight. It is a very strong opponent. And it's a very strong ally. This is why I put Armored Zombie on Malayurika's team. So we might as well utilize that. Just like the old days. And Pumpkin shouldn't last too long, all things considered. There we are. And we'll just keep picking them off. See, with the right strategies... Oh, 24 health left. Oh well, down for the count. Might as well. So there we are, strongest opponent out of the way. Pumpkin goes down, and then we've basically just got to try and waste time so we can introduce these monsters. This is... Basically, the game gets a hell of a lot easier as you get stronger monsters and better equipment. You'll be able to waltz through battles in the space of a few turns by picking and choosing your lineup. Because You'll have so many good items, so many good abilities along the way, that you can make a lot of fights incredibly easy. Not to mention, monsters get stronger, they get higher HP, but defense does nothing. It may as well be 0 for all the impact your monsters have. So, if an opponent doesn't have monsters with high health, you can rip through them. Even then, it should usually take about 4 or 5 attacks. And with enough AP, you'll end fights very easily. It's kind of like Breath of the Wild in a sense. In the early game, it's a pain in the butt. You have to drag yourself through a lot of difficult fights, find healing, and go through battles again and again to get halfway decent equipment. But as you get to the end game, you can really rip through teams and make it easy. Let's get to meeting some of these. Gate Guardian made its international debut in Metal Raiders with 1 or 2 extra appearances. In Japan, it debuted as a tournament promo before appearing in Premium Pack 3. And the fact this was shunted out of the way initially, compared to its required tributes being fairly reasonably available, tells you everything you need to know. Gate Guardian is the very embodiment of impractical, and it's not even that awesome. It's powerful on raw stats alone, that much is true. It's actually half the total of its materials in terms of stats, but no innate protection for the ridiculous effort needed to summon it means it's easy to destroy and you're left with nothing. Its best use is honestly as a fusion material for UFO Roid Fighter, which needs a warrior, or elemental hero Neos Knight. This just isn't worth it. Cyberblader made its debut in Elemental Energy, with a couple of reappearances for international audiences. In Japan, it's also had a couple of extra appearances, though several years apart. Cyberblader is a slightly awkward card to use since it is reliant on the number of monsters your opponent has. Whereas most cards these days have cumulative effects based on the number of monsters your opponent has, only one of Cyberblader's effects is active at any time, and if the opponent has 4 or 5 monsters, you're stuck. Still, I do have pretty fond memories of this card since it was one of my few capable cards left after I unfortunately lost my very first deck on a family holiday, and it had some pretty good cards for the time. I like Alexa's array of monsters. I talked about White Knight Queen earlier. I just wish they were more practical to use in the card game.
I will not lose! You will bow down before me again like the dog you are!
And the battle begins. The final showdown of Joey's story is here. And unsurprisingly, the Blue Eyes White Dragon will be pretty tough. Let's see, this one has slightly less HP. So let's start targeting that one. Thankfully, our critical attacks should be able to nobble it fairly easily. But we are fighting very, very strong opponents. Of course, if I was able to bait him into fusing, we'd have a much easier time of things. But I do believe that Kaiba is unable to fuse because one of his monsters is confused. It seems to be right anyway. But with our dragon killing team, we can dispatch Kaiba fairly easily. Like I said, you've got the right equipment, you can win these fights pretty easily. When you get to the end game, when you've got some really solid monsters with good kit, you will make mincemeat of most of the people you're fighting. And there we are, we've already nullified the threat of the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Just a few critical attacks and these monsters are going down. It's fairly easy if you know what you're doing. You've just got to literally play your cards right. Well, alright, your monster's standing in as cards right. Just use intelligent tactics, basically. Alright, this one. We'll hit him hard, we'll hit him fast, we'll take him down. Joey will finally get the upper hand. He'll finally have something to gloat about. And there we are. Nearly down. But they'll focus their attacks, but there's not much they can do. Joey's warrior monsters give him a huge advantage against Kaiba. Bring the right team, and pretty much any battle can be fairly easy. Especially if you've got some of those monsters whose special attacks also lower your opponent's attack. Like when you get some levels into Orion the Battle King, it's really, really good for that. Same deal with the Illusory Gentleman. And there we are nearly done. Of course, for all our hard work, we know how this is going to turn out, don't we? That's the sad part about this. In a way, it's all for nothing. We've come a very long way. We've fought incredibly hard. We have tried to wipe that smug smile off Kaiba's face, and it's not going to mean anything. Even though we've put in a hell of a lot of work, that's it for the Black Dragon Squad. And so the curtain falls. Interestingly, it is implied that Mariar Den is Pegasus Castle in this game.
What do you have to say now, Kaiba? You lose!
Huh, not bad. It looks like you finally got some guts. But you're still as simple-minded as ever. Battles aren't won with strength. Strategy is everything.
What the heck are you talking about?
Joey, they got our hideout. It's been completely wiped out.
What?
You walked right into my trap. While you were out here facing me, my men have been destroying your hideout and taking everything in it. Lady Luck does not smile on the naive. You should try to be more like Yugi. He would have seen this coming. Ugh. What in the world ever led a bunch of fleas like you to think you could defeat me? However, I will let you live. I'll give you one chance to run away. What a fitting end for you. Completely powerless against the might of money.
Ha 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 ha! How does it feel knowing you were powerless before my infinite wealth?
Pretty much like I'm living in the real world. Yes, that is it, Wheeler. You are in the real world now, and you know that nothing you have is ever going to be useful against the power of money. I can buy and sell whatever I want. I can buy entire industries, I can buy communication media, I can buy any politician I want. You have nothing. You're gonna wind up having to work 3 jobs just to afford a really sketchy apartment full of cockroaches. And so, the Black Dragon Squad is disbanded. Giselle and Malairica wind up dead. Well, I have to hand it to Kaiba. He beat us good.
But he seems content to let us get away. He hasn't chased us at all.
You're right. He's probably busy trying to find his own way out of this world.
You got that right. So what do we do now? The Black Dragon Squad has pretty much been wiped out.
Well, I don't think there's anything we can do but stay low and look for Yugi and whoever the other one was, the one that tags around with the stupid British accent. That guy. We really don't need to look for him, but we do need to find Yugi.
Sounds good to me. Either way, we're gonna need more allies if we're going to fight back. It's too obvious for us to move around as a group. The Empire is still looking for us, even if Kaiba's not. I think we should split up, gather more forces, and start over.
Then it's settled. We all go our separate ways. For now. See you later.
Mai. Watch yourself out there.
You too. And so the 4 parted company in order to elude capture and wait for their next chance to strike at the Empire. after they meet up with Yugi, that chance does come. And there we are, we get to save. Do we get the credit sequence? Yes, we get the credit sequence again. We can skip over this because we've seen it already. When we come back, it will be going through the game again, finding the monsters we missed, finding a few items we missed, and just trying things out as we go through Yugi's story once again. I'm going to skip all the boring blather at the start though. Thank you very much for joining me. Until next time, this is Red 2, returning to base.